Right. Today's project, I got a little done a drawing. Turn it on. There's a little where we got the sofa, it leaves a little kind of triangle shaped hole next to it, and I haven't been able to find a little table that fits there, so I'm gonna have to make one. So it's gonna be 420. It takes us off the edge a bit, so but I'm gonna measure it to 420 and mark it to 420 because that gives me my angle. So that's what I want. Always wait for the saw to come to a complete stop before retrieving your work. Just going to plane that down to my mark a little bit. Always go with the grain so that you're not digging into the grain. Always pulling away from the grain. That's where it wants to take it off. That's how I know that that's where it needs it, because I'm holding the plane quite straight along. When you want to make a timber straight, hold the plane straight along. If you want to take more material off, go a bit on the edge. You know, I've been going away at this, but I've probably not even taken off a 1/4 millimetre. Look down the end there, get it straight. Again, look down there, nice and straight. Down there, nice and straight. Cool. So I'm going to chop that end off there, and then I'm going to make some edging to go around it. I'll take that off to make it look about that big. Chunky. So I'm just giving them a sand at this stage so that I'm somewhere in the ballpark when I put my edgings on. I don't know if you can see it. Put a couple of screws in the table to stop it slipping off. But my legs are going to be 60, so I need that flat bit there to be 60. So I've marked it down there to 60, and obviously ditto on that side. I'll put a square on it now as well, so get that square, plane that down. So I didn't mention it earlier, but I marked that bit square whilst I still had a square to mark to. Because the problem, of course, here now is obviously you don't have a square edge to mark to. This thing was like, I don't know, like 150 quid. 100, well, I don't know, 130 plus VAT or something. Do you know what? For the money, it's absolutely brilliant. It just take, you know, a little bit off at a time. I bought some spare blades, right? I haven't needed to put them in yet, but it's a fantastic little thing. Right, so now I've got to make some nice mitre joints around the edges with that trim. So what I've done, I've measured the angles, so like that there, 110 degrees. So then half of that, I'd line my protractor onto 55. And that's the angles I've got to cut the mitres at. Okay, I'll just mark that on. I'll just mark that way. I don't mark it per se, but I just mark which way the cut is going, so that I can probably cut it from that side actually, so that I get it right. So because it's a long way to go to the saw, I can easily forget. So that seems to fit. That seems to fit pretty well around there, I'd say. Not bad, not bad. You can never really tell quite until you actually glue it up. So that's what I've got to figure out next, is how I'm going to glue that. The problem is this oak, being oak, can't really see that, but it's never quite as straight as you'd like. There's a slight rock on that. It's a little bit curved. So I've gone to all that effort making the end of my wood nice and straight. But then there's a gap there, or there. So I've either got to straighten that bit out, which is probably what I'll do. I'll probably glue that bit first and glue it, clamp it against a straight, strong piece of timber. I've got it wedging up against, so I'm clamping from there to there and there, so that's just kind of bringing that in a little bit where it was slightly curved out. It's going to bring it in, so I'm going to glue that up and give that, to be honest, I'll probably knock it on the head for tonight and let that dry overnight, just so I know it's not going to pull back off. So that end's gone on nicely now. This is the next morning. So glue those on there. Next, they won't need so long to set because they're not under any stress. So what I've done here, I've kind of test clamped it to make sure it fits. before I quite put glue. These last two bits on here that I've still got to glue. But I put a strap all around this and pull it tight down there. I'm just going to put some glue on there, on these bits now. And there you go. So we'll leave that to do its thing, and we'll have another cup of tea. Right, so that's all dried. Let's take the clamps off. And let's have a look at it at this stage, get an idea of what it's gonna kind of look like. So you can see how that gives a kind of impression of chunkiness, even though, you know, it's not, the timber's only 20mm thick, but it kind of, you know, at a glance that looks like 60mm thick. So I'm going to sand this up now. I don't need to at this point, but I'm going to, because it'll look nice when it's sanded, and it'll kind of be very satisfying. So there we go, kind of sanded up. Looking good, really. Yeah, this middle plank is a little bit lighter than I would have liked. So if I'd have chosen the timber for that, I would have chosen it a bit more matching. This is a bit of kind of almost like a bit of heartwood or something that's got into there. But as this was just made of the only bit I had left, that's what went in there. So when I get myself a bit organised here, I just need to have a little tidy up. I'm going to stick these three bits together, glue them up, clamp them down, and then run them through the planer. So I'm going to make some kind of, they're 60 by 60. And there should be enough there. I'll make it enough to get 3 legs. One for there, one for there, one for there. So I've got that clamped all along the edge of the bench there. It's actually clamped down onto the metal frame of the bench. So let's hold it nice and straight while it goes, while that glue dries. So that's come up really nicely now. I mean, obviously there's some imperfections, but you know, this is not first grade timber. This is rustic. It's got knots and chunks missing and funny grain, and it's not quite straight, but it looks nice. It's come up really nice. So I'm going to give this a sand off now with the orbital, just because that edge is so sharp. That's going to give me splinters or something. So that's, I mean, it's got to be sanded at some point anyway. So I'll do it now before it sticks splinters in me. So we've got to get, this thing's going to be 550 millimeters high. I've got 20 mil thick top, so that makes 530 the length of my legs. So what I want to do is I want to have a look. I need 3 legs. I've got more than enough material here. I want to see where 3 lots of legs gets me the best bits of timber. So I don't think I'm going to be able to avoid that bit. I don't know. That's a bit nasty. So there's 530. So here's that nasty bit. And I can hide that up there. See what it looks like the right way up. Right, that's it, kind of roughly put into position. So starting to come together a little bit. So what I've got to do now is I've got to make a little shelf for this area here. I've also got to put some braces in here and along here. So I've got to figure out how I'm going to do those. Okay, so next on the agenda, got another plank. This is my last plank, so I don't want to kind of get it wrong. So I'm going to cut these into. I'm going to cut bits off of this at 500, and then I'm going to plane this edge up because this is previously been chamfered. That's how I bought it. So I'm gonna get that edge square, and then I'm going to glue 3 of these next to each other to make one board, and that's going to make my middle table, or yeah, the shelf even. So this contraption here is 3 boards ready to be glued. I haven't glued them yet, but I've just prepared everything. Because I've only got 2 of these sash cramps, and they're, well, like one's metric and one's imperial, I don't know, but the holes are all over the place on them. So I've got to wedge that one with that size wood, that one with that size wood. And of course, the weights there are just to hold it all straight, because that could quite happily kind of go whoop and curve up. So I'm just making a mark the width of my board in from the edge, because that's going to be the size of the shelf. So that's got to be that size there, which it pretty well is. But because I've left it a little bit, what I can do is I can plane those edges down, and if it's too small, if I make it too small, that's okay. I just bring it forwards a bit, and it becomes bigger. By coming forward, it becomes bigger. See, planing with the grain, so I'm not kind of picking into the grain. So that's worked out alright. That fits in there really well. So we got that right. So this is the table, the shelf, I keep calling it table, that sits down there, and the legs have got to kind of pass through the corners. So I'm just going to mark where the legs go. And get into that with the Gigasaurus. Right, so that fits in there quite nicely. That line's not perfect, so it's actually going to take a while to do that, but that's okay. Right, it's really taking shape there now. I've just got a block of wood under there holding that while I just check that it all kind of goes together nicely. And then I've got to decide really if I'm going to put any more wood in it, because I could put a little skirt around there. I don't know if I need to. I'll have a think about that. So I've done the same here again. I've done a practice clamp up. So I know that everything's going to go together before I put any glue on it. And I'm not gluing this in just yet. I'll do that in a stage 2, I think. I think I can do that in stage 2. I think I can, maybe I do need to glue that in at the same time. I mean, this clamped together so well, and it's super solid. Maybe I'll go around, I'll mark those, and I'll just have to be quick. So, I've come to my senses. I'm gonna use, to glue this up, I'm gonna use this. So it's the kind of stuff you can wipe clean with water as you go. So I can make a bit of a mess, doesn't matter. And then I'll just have to be patient and leave this to set overnight. That's okay. There you go, she all glued up. It's a little bit seeping out. I've wiped most of it with water, damp cloth. But dries clear anyway, so it'll be fine. It's good stuff. This used to be PVA, but I don't think it's PVA anymore. who knows? Yeah, it looks the same, does the same, probably works better. There we go, we'll come back to this in the morning. Put the old weights on top. It's the only time they get used. So here we go, that's kind of all glued together now. So, seems pretty solid. I will just put some screws up into here. I'll just put a screw through there and one through there. But that's the only screws I think it's gonna have. I mean, what I could have done if I had the jig, which I don't, I could have put some pocket screws underneath in here and one back there. But you know, that glue is good. I don't think it's going anywhere unless it had a severe kind of drop. Then I'll put some oil on it. Pleased with that. Already pre-drilled this. And then the grain aligns. Tap it in, wait for it to dry, and then we'll chisel it off, sand it back, and that's hidden those screws. I mean, they're out of sight anyway. Probably didn't even need to plug them, but I am. And I think while I'm here, I think I'm gonna put one in here to hold there. Skip forward 5 minutes. So when you take this off, you just got to kind of be careful about not going below the surface, because you can't really feel that. Sometimes the grain kind of goes that way, and sometimes it goes that way. So if it goes that way in the plug, then you come from this side. If the grain going that way, come from this side, and then you can't get it wrong. So just leave it proud and then just sand off. Right, so that's the plugs plugged. See that? No, you can't. That's the point. It's quite well hidden. So my favourite bit now, the oiling. Decided not to put any dye in this. It's kind of partly concerned that it wasn't really, that it was kind of almost like killing the oil. But look at that. Isn't that lovely? I love this stuff. It just transforms things. So easy, just splash it on. The first coat just gets absorbed instantly. brings out the grain, and this Danish oil is so good as well because you can. I've got an elm table that I made probably 25 years ago. I put 3 coats of Danish oil on it. I've never had to do anything to it since, and we do use it for everything. We eat off it. It has cups of coffee all over it. So here it is. This is where it fits. This little space here has been annoying me for a while, and that's where it goes. I can sit here. Put my cup of tea out.